Hello, welcome to my channel. This is going to be another D&D 5th edition idea. For this time it's for an initiative system. And the idea of the initiative system, this initiative system is based on resources. That at the beginning of every round, you start out with 20 initiative, and as you do things, you use up that initiative. The more you use, the further back in the initiative order you go. Alright, now this is loosely based on the Greyhawk initiative, which was released by where is it? Unearthed Arcana. There's something called Greyhawk Initiative, right? And the idea of Greyhawk Initiative was that you had to tell the GM what you were doing each turn and roll dice based on what you were going to do. Like if you're going to do a ranged attack, you'd roll a d4. If you're going to do a movement, d6, or swap gear, or any other action would be a d6, and melee attack would be a d8, and you could cast a spell with a d10. This sucks really bad because I have to know what I'm going to do on my turn before my turn in order to have the initiative right. If I have to change something, it causes complete and total chaos, and people have run this and it has worked. I don't see how. Those people are very, very patient. Good on them. I don't see how this would work. My idea is based on that, but it's decidedly different in that the idea is you pay as you move, as you do things. So there's no I asked you at the beginning what it is, right? What you're going to do in your turn, and then we figure out your initiative and blah blah blah. This is okay, I'm attacking. I roll a d20, right? I subtract initiative. I'm going to cast a spell. I subtract initiative. I don't charge you for moving. I don't charge you for anything, except if you're rolling dice, you probably should be charged. There are exceptions, of course. I'll get into that in a second. Now, if we're doing a melee attack, which is right here, right? This does something very interesting. Other people have said this, there's functionally no difference between a light, heavy, and no modifier weapon. If I have a dagger, I have no inherent advantage to a sword. So if I could have either, right, from a rogue or from a fighter, if I could have either, I have no advantage. There's nothing to make me do that except for flavor. And there's no mechanical difference, except for the dagger sucks, and anything else you pick will definitely be better than the dagger, which is not good. So the idea of this, you're rolling a d20 anyway to see if you hit, right? So we're already rolling a dice. What I do is, if it's light, you take a fourth of that, right? But like if I roll a 19, I take half of you add. If it's odd, you add 1 and then take half because for rounding. So it'd be 10, right? If I have a heavy weapon and I roll a 19, I lose 19, right? That's just what you roll is what you subtract from your initiative. If it's light, you take 1/4. So if I roll a 19, I take half, which is 10. Then I take half again to get to the 1/4, which would be 5. So I only lose 5 initiative. That is a big difference. That's the difference between being at 15 and being at 19. There's a huge difference. And then of course, if it's not light or heavy, you take half. So if I have a normal short sword, I roll a 19, I take half, which means my initiative is 10. Better than, not as bad as a heavy, not as good as a light, still pretty good. And the idea is, all of a sudden these weapons that were basically garbage and you would never use, right, all of a sudden have a distinct advantage. You have a tendency of going first, right? That's the entire idea. Now for spells, it's a little weird. What you do is you take the spell level, right, double it, and add 4, right? And that's how much initiative that spell used, right? So if I cast a fireball, it's a level 3 spell. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 4 is 10, which means I lost 10 initiative for casting that fireball. So if the player does nothing else on that turn, you'll be at 10 initiative. If you don't use your reaction, and if you don't use your bonus action to cast a spell, like click on the spell, if you're a sorcerer or something, that's what your initiative is. So it's just calculated. You could literally write it on, if you use cards for your spells, you literally write the initiative on the card. And what this does do is it does add some DM record keeping, but I don't think it's that bad, especially if you use a computer, right? You could just have a table, and then what we did in our games was we had note cards that were folded in half and put on top of the DM screen, and just reshuffling those is not going to be a big deal to keep track of who goes where. And what we used it for was also on the DM side. You folded it in half. On the outside was just the name. On the inside was your stats. So I always knew what the saves were and blah, blah, blah. I didn't have to ask. So this is just a little thing on getting half of odd numbers. And like I said, the main event, there are a lot of advantages to doing this. It makes different spells actually different too. It does differentiate spells. Why would I use a level 1 spell instead of a level 5 spell, right? It takes less initiative. Yes, it does less damage. So depending on when I'm fighting in the exact situation, I might not think I need to do that much damage. It actually makes spell selection a little bit more interesting. And it makes the fights generally more interesting because you don't know who's coming next. It's not like you can just sit there and zone out till it's your turn again. Right? Like I know if Bob goes, I'm next. You can't do that because you don't know if Bob goes before you this time. Bob might have done something else. Oh yeah. One more thing, if you have multiple attacks on an action, right? You don't pay initiative for each attack. You only pay initiative for the first attack. So if you roll a natural 20 on your first attack, not great. If you roll it on your second attack, if you're a fighter or a barbarian, if you roll on your second attack, like if you miss, and which takes the least initiative, right? Let's say you roll like a 2, and then you roll a natural 20 for your second attack. That entire ability to have multiple attacks on the same action becomes a lot more useful. I think that adds just a nice little thing in the game that gives fighters and anybody that's melee based a little bit of an extra bump, because all of a sudden, yeah, I rolled a 2 and I missed on my first one, except I rolled a natural 20 on my second one and I didn't have to pay initiative for it, which would feel pretty awesome. And also, it kind of it takes some of the pain off of missing, because if you miss, you did use it. You by definition used up less initiative, so it takes a little bit of the pain, and it gives actually gives a downside to getting a natural 20, which I find slightly interesting. So natural 20 isn't 100% good all the time. Natural 20 has its cost when it comes to combat, which I think makes natural 20 a little bit more interesting too. The main disadvantage of all this is that it's more DM record keeping, and that's the only real downside I see. So for the cost of some record keeping, you get all these really nice advantages. This is just an idea I've been working on for a little while. I think it's good. Let me know what you think. Hope you like my channel. Like, share, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Have a nice day.